All right, time to review the stories on the front pages of national newspapers for today. And to do that with us is Dotun Ojo. He's a communication and leadership strategist. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dotun. Nice to see you.
All right, let's start with the Punch newspaper. The major story here is Atiku won't disregard Jonathan's advice on Obasanjo, says aide. Ex-VP resigned from APC since October the 18th. That's according to findings. What do you think of this?
Okay, it's an open window now, and political players will continue to move from one club to another, and it's going to have a very serious impact on the entire workspace of Nigeria, because very soon now government will go on sabbatical, because we are going to look at the next election, and you know, the preparation for the next election starts immediately after the last one. So, and with Atiku leaving APC to another party now, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the government.
And then this story really is talking about, because former President Goodluck Jonathan told Atiku just a few weeks back that if he truly wants to be, is interested in even running for presidency in this country, that he needs to dialogue and, of course, mend fences with former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Yeah.
So his aide is saying that he's not even discountenancing that option.
Olusegun Obasanjo, as far as politics is concerned in Nigeria now, remains a very relevant figure. That's why you see that people from all walks of life go there to actually not just to pay homage, but to get that kind of approval. And from 2003, early 2003, there's been problem between Atiku and the former president. So I know for you to, it's not the former president that will really determine the fate of Atiku. It is how deep his pocket is as we speak now. But again, his approval will go a long way to creating that kind of leeway for him.
Well, when it comes to the former president Olusegun Obasanjo and Atiku, like you said, since 2003 they have not been best of friends. But the relevance of former President Obasanjo in the politics of Nigeria today is something that no one, for former President Jonathan to say it. To open up and say that if you want to get anywhere, you must have to go
Judging from how he treated Obasanjo during his time in office.
So I guess this is a wake-up call one way or the other.
But again, we should not forget the fact that Atiku is a cat with 9 lives. You know, you can easily compare him with Zuma of South Africa. The same treatment he had when he wanted to be president was the same treatment Zuma had. And this man continues to survive even up to this present moment. I tell you that what Atiku did to Obasanjo, no other politician could have done that and actually went
and still survive
anything. So it's not somebody that you can easily just overlook. Somebody was telling me about him that on his phone that he can actually, if you bring 10 of your kids to him and say, oh, fix these people up, that on his phone he can make call to 10 different ministries and fix them up. That's how powerful he is.
Okay, so let's quickly look at another story beside the masthead of the Punch. It says 26 Nigerians burial. FG meets Italy, demands victims' identities. Now, a delegation from Nigeria is meeting with the officials of Italy. I think it's led by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Jacopo Dogara, that they need the identities of the victims.
That's a very sad reality. Unfortunately, we may not be able to get their real identity. Because when some of these people, even as they travel out, many of them forge their document. So it's making it exceedingly difficult. At the end of the day, if not practically impossible for us to really get the identity. But I think the government should know that one of the signs of failure is when your citizens continue to move out of your border. So we need to actually address that. Nigeria is not too large for us to cater for our citizens, except if we are not taking it so seriously that we really want to put our citizens at the forefront of our welfare program. So once we begin to do that, it's going to take time, but we want the people to believe in the government of their nation. Once they do that, they will see possibility even within our problems.
Even on that note, well, we heard Abike Dabiri the other time said that, well, they could only verify, as at that time, they could only verify 3 of those ladies that are Nigerians. The others have not been verified, and then they didn't have the opportunity from what they said. But however, we also know that amongst these migrants, a lot of them, the moment they are from sub-Saharan Africa, a lot of them claim Nigeria to a great extent. We've had reports several times where some persons from Ghana will say they are Nigerians so that they can feel that brotherhood.
And
then
even without claiming,
to
most Africans are perceived as Nigerians.
Yeah, exactly.
To even cover up the path of their crime too. You know, it's believed that once you are a Nigerian, you can do anything, quote unquote. So
and even just we have spoken to some of the, returnees, and they say that when they get there, the brotherhood and the bond is based on country by country. And so if you are from the southwest, or you're from Edo State, or you're from Delta State, you're from anywhere, as far as you are Nigerian, when you get there, that brotherhood is there for you to assist, for them to assist each other.
The brotherhood is even failing now with reports that Nigerians that are smuggling people abroad are even selling them in slave markets. Yeah,
the racket or the syndicate of the crime is one thing on one hand. But those of them who get there, the migrants themselves who get there, they tend to assist each other when time comes. So when the Ghanaians or the Sierra Leoneans or the Liberians or the Cameroonians get there and they see that the Nigeria has the highest number, and then Nigerians are helping each other, they claim Nigeria too. So they go, we are all Nigerians, you know, and all of that. You know, okay, let's move to the next paper now, the Nation newspaper. We still have the story on Atiku. Atiku splits PDP governors. Makarfi, others listed for 2019. Adamawa APC gets ex-VP's resignation letter. Now, there are, just to dwell on this a little bit, there are reports that some senators and some governors are going to go with Atiku from the APC.
Of course, it's like, you know, the political situation in Nigeria now is like driving at night with a bad headlamp. I don't know whether
maybe with no headlamp at all.
Yes, so you are at the mercy of the man at the front. So if the man moves left, you move left with him. If he moves right, unfortunately, you cannot determine whether the headlamp of the man is even good or even better than yours. So politically, once big figures like these continue to move from one political party to the other, they have large followership that are going to move with them. And there are two things you can do about that. Number one is either the government flood our political road with light by in form of education, everybody can see, or individually we decide to just work on our headlamp so that we can see at our individual level. But the way it is now, I think our political situation is too dark for ordinary Nigerians to see. So we perceive that some of these people can see farther than us, and once they move, we veer with them. It doesn't matter whether the road is good or bad.
Okay. We have one more headline here. It says NMPC fails to remit 1.7 trillion naira into Federation account. This has been ongoing for so many. In fact, from the report we got, since 2010, there is the issue of outstanding. They use the word outstanding because since 2010, they said about 460 billion naira has not been remitted. One amount of money, they keep it, is said to be outstanding.
You see, one of the things that I was hoping would happen is, because I was part of those people who supported our president being the Minister for Petroleum the other time, because I was thinking that with a president of that caliber sitting as the minister, that's going to put everybody in order. But it's like we have a systemic failure within NNPC already, which a familiar person cannot actually sort out.
But so, then the question really is NNPC too big to be managed by any government?
That is how it's looking. That is how it's looking. And it shows that at the end of the day, we are going to put the blame on the door of leadership. You know, this is not the first time where even a minister will be complaining that, oh, the GMD of NNPC has direct access to the president. It happened during the time of Yaradua that the man was seriously complaining. So it's like there's always, what was it called? This kind of secrecy within the NNPC. And it's not palatable to Nigerians. For me, I think it's really a sad reality that we still continue with that, despite the promises that brought this government to power.
And then you will be more shocked if you have someone in the NNPC working there, if they tell you some of the things.
Exactly, from the report we get from there.
Yes, well, moving to the Daily Sun now. Over 66 accounts used in pension fraud. That's according to the Attorney General of the Federation, Boko Haram, saying that, yes, about that, and about 270 properties were recovered during the Operation Task Force headed by Rashid Maina, but somehow being recovered now. And then there are about 217,000 fake ghost pensioners in the system, very heavily down on the pockets of the federal government.
You know, in the history of Nigeria, even during the military, it has always been the style of government to come out to say, oh, there are ghost staff here and there, and we have discovered so number. But at the end of the day, just after perhaps about 2-3 years, you discover that another government comes to power to say, oh, we have discovered ghost workers. Then it tells you that the civil service is a service to always suspect. You understand? Many of these things cannot happen without the support of civil servants. But our attention, as far as our corruption fight is concerned, has always been on the politicians. We think the politicians are the biggest thief, quote unquote. But the fact is that for you to build a system that will adequately fight corruption, you need to actually beam your searchlight on civil servants, because they aid and even teach some of these people the corners to take and how to get this money. And the most saddening aspect of it is that these people who own the pension, I mean the pensioners, were once time civil servants. So I don't know whether people are not thinking, because it's going to get to a time that you are cutting collar to steal their money today will become pensioner, and the same thing will be meted out to you. But because we are a generation of now people, all we think is the money we can get now, the houses we can build now, the corruption we can perpetrate now, and we're not thinking about either our future or even the future of our nation.
One area that analysts are always saying that when officials of government come out, they're very quick to come out on the media to say, we've discovered this, we've discovered that. All this information are things that should be under investigation. And then before we hear them, it would have been that, okay, we've done this, we've acted, we have prosecuted, we've found out this, and we've confiscated this, and all of that. But they just tell us we found this and we found that. So it looks like everything is just on the papers.
You know that to a great extent too, we also encourage the oncoming civil servant to do such, because at the end of the day, no punishment is meted out to anybody. Oh, we caught so number of people. They can't insert their name into the payroll. It was somebody who did it, but what did you do after finding out?
Like the confusion of the letter that emanated from the Ministry of Interior on reinstatement of Mena. Everyone is saying, I wasn't the one. I didn't sign it. I didn't sign it.
The Attorney General of the Federation, different letters at different times.
So everyone is saying I'm not, and the letter was signed. It is a hard
copy
letter.
It's like the more you look, the less you see kind of situation. Anyway, quickly now, yes, Atiku somehow is on the front pages of all
the papers.
Atiku mobilizes Northeast for PDP. Lamido, that's where I want to go. Lamido invites Saraki, Tambuwal, Kwokponso to join party. That could be something to look out for ahead, to see how they are going to shift or not. Anyway, but let's take this one. Boko Haram invades military base, kills 3 soldiers. Troops prevent insurgents from taking over Borno town, Magumeri town. That was where this happened. And we recall that in August, that was where, around that region was where the Boko Haram members attacked University of Maiduguri officials and MPC officials during their prospects of oil exploration.
I think we do not understand the concept of fight against terrorism in this part of the world. And because we quickly want to gain cheap political point, we come out to the media and say, oh, this is what we've done. Do you get me? The fight against insurgency anywhere in the world is not a fight of deadline. You don't set a deadline that I'm going to defeat these people because it is impossible. It's a fight of consistency. Fine, this government has done a lot in the fight, but I think we should not go to bed. It is not time to say it's over. It is not yet over. We need to know that, and even Nigerians need to understand that the way you are pushing your government to defeat Boko Haram is not as easy as that. It's a fight of consistency. These people have to continue to fight, and they will continue to fight back, because there are about 3 things that are working in their favor. Number 1 is religion. They can quickly just tell you, even when they are not religious or godly, even when they are not even Muslims, it's very easy for them to say, to hide under the platform of religion and recruit people. Number 2 is population. They have army of youth to recruit from. And number 3 is poverty. So far you have these 3 things thriving in Nigeria. Their business will continue to thrive.
The other area is the issue of information management. Nigerians are putting so much pressure on the government, and the government is trying. Even all those while, fighting Boko Haram is not an easy task.
It's not.
We know. But the military and the government certainly needs to know how to handle the information.
Yes, and even the government. I think the government is unnecessarily under pressure. Because, see, the art of leadership, that's why I think that we should understand this very clearly. It's not an art of fulfilling promises.
But transparency? It
is not an art of fulfilling promises. You might have said this, that, oh, within this period of time, I am going to do this. It's a promise you have made to your people. Now the reality and the fact whether the people need that thing at that moment in time will come to play when you get to power. Exactly. It does not make you a weak leader when you come and say, at this point in time, because of this reality, I cannot fulfill this. It's like a man who said, oh, I am going to buy you, if you are my daughter, I'm going to buy you bicycle at the end of the term. And perhaps your school increases their fee. And I'm thinking, oh, I cannot buy you bicycle again. I have to divert the money into paying your school fee. So I think we need to understand
openness.
That you
openness, transparency,
and just continue
honesty.
To move on.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to the final paper now. We're up against time. The major headline here says, Adeniran, Agbaje, Daniel emerge front runners in PDP chairmanship race. We have been following this for quite some time now, and some facts, because the chairmanship has been zoned to the south, and the Southwest is saying it has to come this way.
Yeah, I think the Southwest PDP has to be very careful in what they demand for. Because now, I don't know whether the president is going for a second time or not. He has not come out to say.
No one knows.
But if you understand, if that happens, it shows that the Southwest will be presenting the vice presidential candidate for APC. If the president says he's going, and at the end of the day, we have the prof as his running mate. I'm now thinking, will an average Southwesterner prefer the slot of a PDP chairman to being a vice president?
Yeah, but these are two different political parties.
Two different
political parties. This is what they need to tackle. Because you can't, for you to win election, you can't be thinking within the conference of your own political party. You've got to think out and know the strategy of other political parties before you.
But then it's all about zoning. When you look at it really and how it's panning out already, there are talks of maybe a southeastern being preferable for a running mate of any party at this time or not. Anyway, judging from the posters of Atiku Abubakar we saw online days ago, seeing Okunje-Iweala.
I'm not sure that we have any major effect on the policy of APC.
And then we have the North Central anyway.
All right, we have to leave you here now because my directors are saying, we have to go, we have to go. All right, thank you very much, Dr. But we have to keep you for the next discussion now. So stay with us on TVC Breakfast. We'll go on a little breather and then we commence with our major discussion right now. Stay with us. All right, let's get into our main discussion for the day now. The resignation of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar from the APC was received with interest by Nigerians who believe that politicians must put the nation's interest in all their dealings.
Absolutely. Well, TVC News senior political correspondent Sumner Sambo expressed the political implications as the PDP has expressed its readiness to reabsorb Atiku.
Many political watchers are not surprised by the resignation of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar from the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, as there were always signs that this was in the offing. Many reforms currently being undertaken by President Muhammadu Buhari's administration had hurt several business interests of Atiku, especially his oil-servicing firm, Intels. Some say despite the genuineness of the economic reforms, some of the policy decisions were to pay back the former vice president for his subtle refusal to campaign for Buhari after losing the presidential primaries to the latter in December 2014.
In our relationship,
Atiku on Friday took the bull by the horns by formally announcing his resignation from the ruling APC, following what he described as a draconian clampdown on all forms of democracy within the party and the government that it produced. He also accused the Buhari-led federal government of working without consultation with top party leaders, leading a fractionalized party hierarchy, and having a cabinet with no youth as minister, despite the huge proportion of youths that voted for it. For some weeks now, associates of Atiku Abubakar have been defecting from the ruling APC to the PDP, especially in Adamawa State, where they now control the state party structure. Many of them are now awaiting his formal arrival into the opposition People's Democratic Party.
Our doors are open. If he says he's coming to join us, another matter. He says, I am free. It's no longer, he has resigned.
If he has resigned from APC, I'm saying, come here. Our party is ready to receive Nigerians who are willing to join us to rescue this country from the dictatorship of the APC.
I've seen that they are not worthy of being in government. And he issued them a red card. PDP is home. We will welcome him. He is going to receive a warm welcome.
Moreover, he was one of the founding fathers of the party. So I believe when he gets to the party, they might give him the ticket for 2019.
Me, I say make him go rest for his house. Because they don't create only him to become a leader. You want where they don't lead, make them go rest. Make the youth enter.
And as key observers await Atiku's next political moves, his success or failure to pull out serving governors and ministers from the ruling APC government will determine whether he's still a political factor or a spent force. Somna Sambu, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, that lays the foundation to our next discussion now. Certainly, if you see, when we were reviewing the papers, the story was on all the headlines this morning. It was like that yesterday. Yes. It was the same thing on Saturday and all of that. But we have still with us Dr. John, Communication Leadership Strategist, joining us right now. Dr. Let me ask, first of all, when you heard the story of Atiku quitting the APC a few days ago, were you surprised?
No, I was not surprised. Okay. I'd always known that it's going to get to this point when he is going to leave the APC. I was not surprised at all. But again, the major concern I have is him coming out to say he wants to be the president of the nation. And it's not just about Atiku. I am not particular about him. It's just about the fact that we are running a familiar system in this nation with perhaps familiar faces. And all of us are praying for a fantastic result. We may not be able to get fantastic result running a familiar system.
We'll still do on that, but first off, I want to talk about some of the reasons he gave for leaving the All Progressives Congress. Are they valid enough for you? He said some of them are that the party doesn't give youths opportunities there, that they're not getting anything. Judging from the appointments made so far by the president, no youth is occupying any viable position. And then that President Muhammadu Buhari is not even consulting the leadership of the party before taking major decisions. So looking at all of this and even more other reasons given, were they valid enough, really, regardless, even if it was someone else, not
Yes. I'm going to ask you whether President Buhari consults Nigerians before he takes many of the decisions. In all honesty, I think when it comes to politics and repoliticking, the president is not good at it. So consultation is part of serious politics. And because of the fact that he's not good at the game of politics, he has been lagging behind in that area. But again, when you're talking about consultation, because either we like it or not, these people contributed heavily to the success of APC. APC, like every other
invested.
Yes, okay, invested.
Investment contribution is the same thing. It depends on the context.
APC, like any other political party in Nigeria, is a party built on shoulders of men, not on principles. So when these men are not taken care of, then they begin to remove their shoulders. Then politically, when you're talking about strategy, which is my area, you know that either we like it or not, once these men begin to remove their shoulders, it spells a lot of problem for the party. So when you are looking, it's not just about the reasons that it gives. We know that political situation in Nigeria prioritizes the welfare of self than society. So once the welfare of self is not satisfied, then I can move out. So basically, it is the issue of self and not majorly of society.
Well, a lot of analysts have said that all of a sudden, because all this while, Atiku has not talked about the issue of youth not being part of the government, and then all of a sudden, he's now talking about youth, because the point there is that the youths are the ones who are the chunk, who form the chunk of who decides whether to become, who decide how the votes should go, as the case may be.
Yeah, that has always been the game plan of every government, right from the time I can remember, because we have always had the population. I mean, the youth has always had the population. So what they do is that they appeal to the sentiment and the belief of youth before election, even buying them Okada before election. But immediately after the election, they banned the use of Okada. So that's how it happens. They always like to, before the election, you need to do it, Mike. For your politics to sell in Nigeria, you need to appeal to the sentiment of the youth. And I use the word sentiment deliberately. To the sentiment of the youth. Now, whether you are going to prioritize their welfare when you get to power is another thing entirely. And over time, government over government has failed. Okay,
and with the not too young to run bill getting a lot of attention and, of course, receptive decision from the National Assembly. And then, recalling that Atiku Abubakar years back, I think it was in 2015, it should be in 2015 or so, or thereabout, he said that if anything made him to resign from the APC, he was going to retire from politics in Nigeria. And now with this self-awakening that the youths are being marginalized in the country, why not maybe, some are saying, why not even contest at all? You are not the only person in the country. Why not pull your weight behind a young person, a youth, and let the person contest for the presidency? You see, that is one thing that even in business, if you study business management, you discover that if somebody retires as the GM, he still has the ambition of becoming the chairman somewhere sitting because they don't just want to leave the space of power. But again, even without the not too young to rule thing, the major challenge we have with rule being a government today in Nigeria is not a problem of the law. For example, if you are 30-year-old, you can go to the House of Assembly. But how many 30-year-old do you see there? If you are 30, you can go to the House of Rep. How many 30-year-old do you see there? If you are 35, you can become a senator. How many 35-year-old do you see there? So it shows that it goes beyond law a little bit. It's about new logic that people need to form. And you cannot form a new logic within a familiar system. We are only expecting to have a fantastic result. Now the familiar system is very simple. What determines the voting pattern in Nigeria today is not age. It is perhaps money. And even the last Anambra election, we came on air to say, oh, it was fantastic. But the influence of money was still very prominent. So it is now, at the end of the day, it will not be whether you have the age in your support or not. That's why I asked that. Why not support a young person to run? An average politician in Nigeria will not do that. Will not do that. And unfortunately, it's a sad reality. I am not expecting a 70-year-old man to become a president in Nigeria. You may think of another places and you may say, oh, the US, for example, the man is advanced in age. But I tell you that in politics, when you want to calculate the age of your president, you don't put it in the calendar age. You put it side by side with the life expectancy of the people. So in a country where the life expectancy is 52.11, then I'm telling you that if a 53-year-old man is even living on the grace of God, that is what we have in Nigeria now. In US, for example, the life expectancy is about 78.74. In the UK, it's about 80.1. Even in Ghana here, it's over 60. I think 69. So when you look at our life expectancy and you compare it with the age of those people that are ruling us, I think they are too old.
Okay, now let's come to the issue of consultation. One of the reasons he gave that the president does a lot of things without consultation. Now, a lot of people would say that when you have the government, when you are the chief executive, and decisions are you have a government to run, you can't go talking to everybody about everything, because the more opinions you have, sometimes the more derailed or more confused you can be. But in this kind of consultation, what area or nature of consultation would somebody like Atiku Abubakar really would need that he doesn't already have in the government of today?
I think there are people you can give money and contract. There are people that are a little bit beyond money. All they need is relevance. And we can continue to count this number of people within the APC whose shoulder the foundation of the party is resting. One of them is the national leader of APC. Either it comes out to say it or not, it got to a point that you could notice that maybe this person it was not being consulted at one point or the other. So the consultation we are talking about is relevant. But the question is that what is the pedigree of people that are supposed to be consulted? When you look at this, then many of these prominent politicians do not pass.
What you just said now brought something to mind about the national leader of the party, Tinubu. The publicity secretary of Lagos State, at the point Atiku Abubakar came out to say that it is time for Nigeria to be restructured, it is time for restructuring and all that. Joe Ibokwe said, we all know his plan. He wants to leave the party. Why now? Why is he talking now? And you said something that it's not about you talking or not when you are aggrieved, but when you know that it's for the sake of the country, of where you're being governed, or you are a leader over, even when you don't talk, you wish the system well. And with Joe Ibokwe saying that it was his plan all along, that why was it that time that he suddenly realized that it was time for Nigeria to be restructured, that it was because he wasn't favored? Yeah,
I think at that point in time, he needed to do all things possible to appeal to the party he's going. So at that point in time, he will never support, he will always want to support anything, I don't know which party, but any party is going, he needed at that point to be, it's part of strategy, to be strategic in his support to the party is going. So it's about thinking ahead. You are the one that is feeling somehow that maybe the man is going. The people within the polity are not feeling any somehow. They are not, because at the end of the day, those that you and I trust within APC are going to move with him. Write it down. They will move with him. Because, like I said the other time, at the end of the day, it's going to be about interest and not what the society or the people are saying. And those people who seemingly to be against his ambition now, because I read through on the social media, and this person is saying, God forbid, God forbid. And the first question I asked, do you even have a voter's card? And the person said no. So the loudest noise of opposition you are hearing are even coming from the people who will not have a say on the day of election.
On the day of election, exactly. Well, and that's what we have been talking about all the while. People, Nigerians will say no, yes, no. But on the day of election, go and express that no, or go and express the yes, but you won't see them. All right, now one way or the other, analysts have said that whether the APC likes it or not, the leaving of Atiku Abubakar is going to have impact on the party, because he is not just leaving as Atiku Abubakar.
He never leaves alone.
He never leaves alone. He never joins alone. He's going to leave. And then from the reports, some of the reports if we have on the papers, if it is something to go by, they're saying about 20 senators are going to follow immediately, and then some governors are also going to follow. What impact would this have generally on the APC?
Mike, when you say 20 senators from 108, I think you are insulting the political weight of Atiku. Write this down. You are insulting his political weight. At the end of the day, there are a number of people, I mean serious number of people that is going to move with him. And this is going to have a very serious impact on the ruling APC. But the good thing about it is that it's going to put, there was a governor in Southwest who was fantastic, and he used 2 years of his tenure to draw what he called roadmap to progress. He was drawing it until somebody came with the power of opposition. Then he ran into execution. I think the good thing for us is that when a powerful person like an Atiku is coming up, then it's going to force this government to work on some of the things that are on paper that they are thinking they still have time to execute. Now they want to appeal to us. That's the good thing about the next election. It's going to force them.
Good you said that, that really. Mike, recall that we were talking about this even before the show, that the impact of this on the Nigerian people
and then
democracy itself, really. Because somehow it was like all the big wigs in Nigerian politics went into the APC, and someone tagged them a party of strange bedfellows.
Yeah. At least what I've been clamoring and praying for, in all honesty, I pray that that President Muhammadu Buhari should sort the problem, whatever problem he has with the Southeastern people. I prayed, I talked about it. At least one of my prayers has been answered. And it came as a result of opposition, either you like it or not. The 2019 election is coming. So you need to mend as many fences as possible. So the big wigs like Atiku, with some other people that are going to follow him, will force the government to do some of the things that will have remained on paper. And
the president is becoming quite vocal now on the
this is the kind of president I voted for. And it's the kind of president I want. It's the president that will say this, and everybody kills behind this and does it. Not a president that will talk, and because people are taking advantage of their closeness to him, they just go to bed.
Talk at all.
I know now that if anybody messes up in Buhari government, he's going to receive a red card. I am certain of that.
All right. Now, so far, although Atiku Abubakar, from what we got, has not officially declared in the PDP, but he has started meeting stalwarts in the PDP. He has met with the state chairman of all the
PDP in the
Northeast, PDP chairman, and then even
National Vice Chairman.
And apart from that, the executives in Adamawa State, he has met with all of them, as the case may be. it seemed obvious that he's going into the PDP. Now, one thing there is that he's a founding member of PDP. Yeah. He was the head of the PDM that gave birth to PDP in the first place. True. And all of, so it's like going back home to where he came from, as the case may be. But the PDP, on the other hand, they have said we'll open our doors to all Nigerians. But we know that one way or the other, whether the person, I'm not saying Atiku is not credible, that's not what I'm saying. Whether the people are credible or not, at this time that PDP has not been able to muster the muscle of being a credible opposition and a forceful opposition, a formidable opposition, they need all the resources, they need all the people to come in. Yeah. Should that be where they are going?
Of course, it's the same strategy that the APC even used the other time. They opened their door and everybody came in. I think the only problem Atiku is going to have within PDP, if eventually he says he's going there, is the problem of the governors. Because now for a period of time, the PDP has not had a national leader. The president has always been the practice within PDP. The president has always been the leader,
the rallying point
of the party. Now they do not have a president. The governors have had control over the party. So whether they will allow somebody to come back and hijack their power is what I am not certain.
But then we heard months back that the PDP was making, even made efforts really to reach out to Atiku Abubakar, Olusegun Obasanjo, and some other big wigs that left the party to please come back. And so,
of course, the party can continue to do that, but I'm talking about the governors. You know, the governors forum made the governors very powerful some years back. You understand? True. And even within the APC, the governors have become a force to reckon with. So I think the only problem he may face within the PDP is from the caucus of the governors. Once the governors accept him as perhaps one of their leaders, accept him perhaps to agree that he's going to flag.
And two of them are quite vocal.
You understand? Once that is settled, I think he's going to have a free way.
It's all right. We still hear from some quarters in the PDP that there is no automatic ticket for anyone. If you're coming in, you're subject to what the standards are. And then we also hear that on the papers also it is said that Makarfi is another person that is being positioned to be the candidate for the PDP going forward. So that's why some analysts are saying Atiku going back into PDP, there's still going to be crisis.
There's going to be crisis because it's going to a little bit alter the permutation that has been on ground. But again, I tell you, with the man I know in Atiku, with the man I've read about, with the man I've studied over time, he will be able to weather the storm and move on. Because majorly, why people are complaining, you know, PDP has not been in power for some time. The guys are broke, many of them. Many of them, what they are praying for is somebody who's going to come in and we have a rich man, a very wealthy man, and will be able to oil the pocket and the palm of everyone. And I think the man is in Atiku.
And of course, everyone knows that Atiku is not a greenhorn when it comes to politics in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
And he's not afraid to give.
Exactly, yeah. It's one thing to have money, it's another thing to be able to spend it freely.
Exactly. He knows how to spend it in the right way.
Dr. Ojon, yeah, thank you very much. Communication and leadership strategist, thank you for coming to the show.
It's a pleasure.